Hello and welcome back to The Stage Door, presented by Canberra Arts right here in Cornerbrook on Rogers TV. It is February now and we are headed into a pretty busy season. Lots of exciting events coming up from Canberra Arts, from the Arts and Culture Centre, from the Rotary Arts Centre. Lots of things happening in our community. So stay tuned. At the end of the episode, we'll give a little outline of what's coming up at some of those spaces, what you can get tickets for. But we also have a really exciting show coming up from our friends on the Hill at Grenfell. So I'm here with Jerry Etienne. Thanks for coming back to the Stage Door, Jerry.
Happy to be here.
Of course, Jerry's no stranger to the Stage Door. You've been on a good few times, I think, since the very first season of the Stage Door. So it's great to have you back. And this year is a pretty big year for you. You're headed into some shifts this year. So first off, congratulations on heading to that career change for you. You're headed to retirement from the faculty.
Yes, I am. It's time, Yep.
Yeah, so what has it been like, before we start talking about this show, what has it been like to relocate here to, in part because of Grenfell? Obviously, there's been a lot of layers that have brought you to Western Newfoundland, Stephenville Theatre Festival, Theatre Newfoundland Labrador, the Rotary Arts Centre, many of which you're still involved with in some capacity. Mm-hmm. What has it been like to kind of view that incredible legacy and work with so many young people in the region?
Well, I'll tell you, the reason that I decided to become a teacher, so to speak, and had a desire to work at Grenfell was because when I was here in the 90s running Theatre Newfoundland Labrador, I would pop into Grenfell from time to time and kind of parachute in and teach a class as a master class. Mm. And I directed a couple of shows there as well during that period. And then I went away and I came back to work as an actor and a director, and I worked with some of the students that I had taught. I had a small part in teaching. I just had this overwhelming feeling of I don't know, accomplishment, being a part of developing them into the artists that they became. And I was proud of them. I was very proud of them. I mean, they did some great work. And that's kind of when I decided, you know what, maybe I'd like to do that, actually do that for a living. So I got called back in 2007. Ken Livingston, who was running the program then, called me and said, would you like to come and teach for a semester, and a kind of master class thing again. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to do that. I was living in Toronto and not making a whole lot of money. So I thought, this is a great opportunity to come back to Newfoundland, which I love very much, and get to work with the students. And so I did. And then I was asked to come back for another term, and I did that. And one of the faculty was leaving, and I was asked to come back again in the fall. And I to which I said, "Will this eventually become a permanent position?" And I was told, "Yes, it will become a permanent position." And I said, "Well, can I apply for that?" And they said, "No, you can't." And I said, "What? Why not?" And they said, "Well, you have to have a master's." And I didn't. I didn't have a master's. I had my BFA. So I said, well, then I'm going to have to turn you down for the fall and go get my master's, I guess. And I did. And I came back 2 years later, and the position was still open. And I mean, what good fortune. I mean, the gods were looking down on me. And so I applied for the position again, and I got it. But it wasn't a tenure track position. So then I taught for another year, kind of as a per course kind of person. And then the position became a tenure track position, and I applied again and went through the whole process again, and I got it. And I've been teaching here ever since, and it is a hugely rewarding thing to see. I mean, some of the young people that we're all up at Grenfell involved with, arrived to this program, kind of having done a couple of community shows. Right? Yeah. Not a lot of experience from very small communities in Newfoundland. They don't get even to go to St. John's to see stuff there, right? But they see TV, they see movies, and they get a little bit of experience on the stage in their community. And they come here and they're pretty raw, they're pretty green. And by the time they leave, it's just amazing to see how they develop. And I encourage everybody out there to come and see the Grenfell shows, because you get to see a student from their second year of study through their fourth year of study, and the change that you see is truly remarkable, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those important things about seeing that is you're not only seeing some great theater, but you're also seeing, if you go every time, you see artists develop and grow, and it's pretty impactful, I think.
I think
for
so.
an audience and a performer to know that the audience is out there taking them in and seeing their journey. And it helps you recognize that journey, I think, as someone who went through Grenfell. And I think going back to your point on, a lot of students from smaller areas, that is the importance of regional drama festivals in high school. It's all starts there. It starts at the school level with one teacher, many of whom are Grenfell grads in Newfoundland, and some of whom aren't and are just people who love theater. Some of whom may have grown up in youth theater like Theatre Newfoundland Labrador, now teaching theater to another generation, and that brings people in to a new community at Grenfell. So, Jerry, it's, with teaching for that length of time, you've seen, over 100 students, certainly, probably more than that. That must be quite exciting, knowing that early sense of accomplishment when you were able to work with them, and I think it's a unique element of this industry that, I remember in my first year that summer I worked in Lucy Dewhart's West Side Saloon.
Oh, yeah.
Written and directed by you with Canberra Arts, then Grossmore Summer Music. You so quickly develop relationships with your professors professionally, in the real world, as it were. Once you get one of those professional contracts for a summer stock season, often you're working with a professor.
Yes,
Michael Waller works directing at various festivals. Alex Follis has worked with us. It's a neat thing.
And it goes the other way around as well, right? I mean, if you look at live theater, and even much of the music industry in Newfoundland right now, an awful lot of the people who are pivotal people in the industry are people who graduated from the Grenfell program up there. So I think we're doing good work up there. I really do, and I hope it continues. There are a lot of struggles happening right now with Memorial University in general, but I hope that they can. It's something that I'm going to be gone before all this comes to fruition. But I hope they can work through it and keep this program going, because I think it really is it has a huge impact on the arts and culture of this province, and preserving our culture, and getting the young people from this province to share that culture with the rest of the province. So I think that's pretty important. Pretty important work we're doing.
No, absolutely. And you are correct in that. When you look around at the arts industry and beyond the arts industry in the province and elsewhere, Grenfell theater graduates are working a lot in some leadership capacities, some pretty significant roles around, which is
and also becoming
amazing.
The teachers that you talked about that get the young people started. Yeah, no,
100%. Yeah. So it is. It's a pretty impactful program when you look at the web, where it starts. It spreads out pretty wide.
It does.
At the influence, which is such an exciting thing, and it's why it's important. And if you haven't taken the time to be in that building, the great thing about Grenfell is it is often open. It's frequently open to the public.
It's always open to the public.
The daytime, it's open. So head up there. Take a walk around, head to an office, meet someone.
Sure, yeah.
Ask questions. I think there's so many great resources there. The Ferris Hodgett Library is there as well. There's an observatory, but the Fine Arts Building's really neat to walk through, because there's also always numerous displays. Student exhibits of visual art is always out in the hallway. And there is an art gallery there too.
There is.
that frequently has great artists, often graduates of the program, sometimes folks that are touring exhibits that haven't been attached to the program. But it's really exciting to, again, it gives artists a place to come home.
For sure.
And as a theater graduate, it does feel like home. You know, that building is a special place.
And Newfoundlanders, I think, for the most part, all want to come home.
Yeah.
You know, they all do. It's the old joke about, you know, how can you tell a Newfoundlander in heaven? Yeah. He's the one who wants to come home.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's a pretty amazing thing in that to give a home to people. You know, it's not just folks from the province that have went through that program. It's folks from across the country and beyond that sometimes. That just, you know, for 4 years, that's home, and it will always be one of the homes.
Yes, and people
there.
from not only across the country now, it's expanding to people from around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a student just a couple of years ago who, on his very last performance, cried in my arms and said, "Thank you for the best 4 years of my life."
Yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah.
No, that's the impact that I think these programs have. It's finding place, it's finding community. And of course, the fourth year show is a big time to celebrate that. That's with
indeed.
the group that you've spent the time with as you head out into that real world officially. And you're directing this year's fourth year show. Tell us a little bit about the show.
Well, the show is called The Moors. It's by a playwright called Jen Silverman. And it's, what is it about? That's a tough one, because it's about many things. It's set on the moors in England in 1850-ish, but it's also very contemporary. And you'll see some interesting contemporary elements in the show, although the setting is 1850s English moors. The premise is kind of about a life that might have been kind of like the Bronte sisters' lives. And there are actually, you know, references to Branwell is one of the characters. You don't actually see this character, but Branwell, it was the Bronte sisters' brother, who was, well, let's just say he was not a great asset to the family. He kind of drank a fair bit, and he womanized, and he lost a lot of money, and but he was the man, so therefore he had control of all the money. So this play is about so many things. You know, I'm just gonna. I got a little piece of paper here because I don't want to miss anything. It's about so many things. It's a very complex play and beautifully written piece. It's about loneliness and the desire for connection. It's about power and control and patriarchal structures. It's about identity and self-invention. It's about gender, desire, and queer longing. And it's about escape and entrapment. If you can imagine two sisters living on the moors in isolation with a dog and a maid, and a governess comes from London. They've actually written to this governess to come to visit them from London. And I don't want to give a whole lot away, but let's just say the two sisters don't get on very well, and they both struggle with being seen the way that they would like to be seen. So if I had to describe what this play is about in one sentence, I would say this play is about the struggle to be seen as you would like to be seen, and not as you have been labeled. Okay. Right? It's a fascinating play, and it's beautifully written. There are also two animals in the play. There's a mastiff and a moorhen who have a relationship. And yes, the actors play the mastiff and the moorhen. So it's got all kinds of qualities to it. It's got an absurdist quality. You know, I love absurdist and farcical stuff. I've done a lot of it at Grenfell, so I really love that genre. So it has a bit of that. It also has a gothic quality, you know, like walking into an Edgar Allan Poe story a little bit. It is. It's I don't want to give too much away. There are all kinds of surprises in it, and I just think it's incredibly entertaining, incredibly complex, a great challenge for these fourth-year actors, and they're coming up to it. I have to say, it's not easy. The script itself is extremely dense. You know, I talk about acting as being an analysis of what a moment in life is like. And then you go from one moment to the next moment to the next moment to the next moment, and you have to be able to identify those moments and understand what's actually happening in a moment in a script. And there are hundreds of moments in a script. This one has thousands.
Yeah.
It's so dense and complex. So there are a lot of challenges for these actors. I'm very excited, and we have an incredible set. We have incredible lighting. We've got great sound, music. There's a couple of songs in the show. You get to see a bit of a rock anthem in this show. What else? It's funny. It's tragic. It's got everything. I laughed. I cried. I loved it. Yes.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
It sounds, certainly sounds pretty magical, I think.
Yeah, well, I hope it will be.
And you said that when you read the script, you really felt drawn to it, you know, more than many scripts. You know,
Yeah.
you said this was one that you read it and it was like, I have to take this on. So
Yeah.
I guess the reasons you've talked about are why that you
well,
jumped into that.
yeah, it's one of the toughest things about teaching up at Grenfell is finding a script. Every year, you go through this. Well, it's hell, really, of finding the script that fits the actors that we have in the program, and also the tech students that we have in the program, and our ability. You know, we only have a limited amount of stuff that we can do because, you know, budgets and our space and our equipment and all that sort of stuff. So we can't do some of the things that they can do, you know, in big, large theaters where they've got, you know, all the bells and whistles. So we have to try to find a show that gives all the students an opportunity as actors and as technicians, and also something that we feel excited about. And from time to time, you get one that just really makes you go, oh my God, I have to do this play. And this has been one of them. I remember back in 2012, I did a play called Scorched. And I was struggling. I couldn't find a play. And this was the fourth-year production that I had to find a play to fit this class. And someone suggested that I read this play called Scorched. And so I said, okay, all right, I'm desperate. I gotta find a play. I don't know how I'm gonna. And I read this play, and I put the book down. And I said, I have to do this. I have to do this. And this is the way I felt about this one as well.
Yeah. No, and it seems with all of those themes and concepts and the time placement and kind of the contemporary ideas that come into it as well, that, you know, ideas that have been around since those 1850s, just less defined and less, you know, analyzed perhaps. It must be great, particularly to have, you know, a few generations within the room. You know, you have yourself along with your stage manager, and then of course the cast. So you have a lot of different perspectives. So that must be really helpful in a work like this.
It is, yeah.
To be able to get, you know, to read into some of those things from a very modern lens and view of the world.
Yeah, and it's, you know, what surprises me is that you're right. These are topics and issues that people were dealing with in the 1850s, and we're still dealing with them now. And that's what's really fascinating, is that, you know, no matter how much things change, they stay the same. And that's kind of another theme of this play, how things are cyclical. You know, things change entirely, and then the cycle starts all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, after the show with the fourth-year class, you get to travel.
Yes, we do.
To the UK, to Harlow and I know this is the, Harlow's been a hot topic, but I have heard from Peter Ride that, travel will continue for the Fine Arts program. It is going to be with partnered universities in London, and still at a very similar cost point. So, which is wonderful, because the travel is huge. It is so valuable. And I know, Ken Livingston, I was able to talk to Ken about that component of things, because he connected it with so many of his peers and friends out there that he had made that are still connected with this program.
Yes, indeed.
It's an amazing thing, to get to work with someone like Peter.
It is. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I mean,
is working on the West End constantly and works with Grenfell students.
I know. Yeah.
It's astounding.
there are others as well. I mean, we have about a half a dozen masterclass teachers that have kind of been working with our students when we go there. They don't all work with them every year, but all of them are West End actors. So that means they're the top of the heap. They are some of the most outstanding theater artists in the country, and technicians as well. So it's a life-changing experience for our students to go overseas and just to be able to see the best of theater, because like I said, some of them start from a small town where they've seen some community theater. Some of them then come straight from there to Corner Brook. And, there's a bit of theater in Corner Brook, but not quite of the caliber that you would see on the West End. So when they go, one of my favorite things to do when I take students to England is to have us all go to the first show together. And every time, without fail, we walk out of the theater and I say, "What did you think?" And every time, without fail, they say, "Wow, that's the best show I've ever seen." And then they see another one. They go, "Oh my gosh, that was the best." And they see another one. And, so it just gives them, what it gives them is the sense of where they can go and what they can accomplish, right? So, when they leave there, they kind of think that the sky's the limit. And they go off, and that's what causes them to move into this industry and grab hold of the reins and create something and do things. And new theater companies have been started by our students, and they've taken over theater companies that have been around for a while. And that's what does it, is they see that what they can do, how far they can go when they go to England, and it just inspires them.
It is certainly a huge impact personally, to have that at the end of 4 years with people you've known for 4 years, and to get to see things together, see things on your own, go explore. It's a spectacular thing. Some of the theater that I saw then is still the theater that I talk about.
I think you still have the record for the most plays seen by a student while in Harlow.
57. It was a busy time, but it was a joy, to see and soak in, literally, that much theater was pretty amazing, to see what you could see, and it is certainly still something that's influenced me a lot in, now being co-artistic director and academy director with Canberra Arts and the Graham Academy here in Corner Brook. I think the theater program obviously was the major reason that launched into that direction. Did I expect to teach? No. But the artistic leadership was really rooted in the time at the Grenfell Theatre program.
Yeah.
So, the Moors, when is it happening? How do people see it?
The Moors is happening from the 18th of this month to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What's that? The 21st. 18th to the 21st. 8 o'clock at night is curtain. And you can get your tickets at the Grenfell box office. You can probably just come to the door. Usually there are tickets available, or you can go online to our Facebook site, and there is a link there to our box office as well.
All right, excellent. So that's February 18th to 21st, the Moors at Grenfell campus. There's lots coming up from the Rotary Arts Centre, including a workshop with their artist-in-residence, Jonathan Watton, film actor, really, really wonderful performer that's here developing their own film project.
Grenfell graduate.
And Grenfell graduate. Has been on Murdoch Mysteries in a notable role. I think The Handmaid's Tale as well. So certainly someone well worth seeing. And that workshop, I think, is going to be pretty amazing for anyone who's interested in the film industry, which is pretty big right now, including in the province of Newfoundland, Labrador. In addition, there's lots of shows, lots of music shows coming up at the Rotary Arts Centre. February 14th, if you're in a Valentine's mood. Nick Hamlin and Casey Callahan are performing a Beatles love song show. Sorry, the Arts and Culture Centre has a few shows coming up as well. And of course, us at Canberra Arts, our community musical, The Prom, directed by Edmund McLean and myself, that is taking to the stage at the Arts and Culture Centre March 5th through the 7th. That is a fantastic new Broadway musical. It's a beautiful music, beautiful story, uplifting and fun, featuring some of our great community stars as well as a lot of community youth as well. We have some very exciting events coming up soon at Canberra Arts. Stay tuned for further details on this, but I am happy to say that we are reviving and revitalizing and evolving the March Hare with the support of Rex Brown and Randall Maggs to an event called the April Owl, happening this April at 110 Humber Road. So tickets and more announcements on that are going to be coming soon. And in addition to that, in May, we're welcoming home a lot of the students that have pursued fine arts and music from Corner Brook as they come back for the spring, and we're welcoming them home with a show called The Next Tide. So that's another festival celebrating students that have just started their careers and giving them a spot on the hometown stage to perform. So we're really excited at Canberra Arts to have those events, and tickets will be going on sale very soon for that. So stay tuned. We hope to have a lot more information on that soon. And of course, the Moor is coming up this February 18th to 21st at Grenfell Theatre. Get your tickets either at the box office or online. And we will see you next week back here at the Stage Door. Thanks for tuning in.